Hello all my YouTube viewers out there. I had a couple people recently ask me what I do for as far as gaming when like the players are in an inn or a building or something of that nature. And I wanted to actually show you what I've been working on lately as far as for kind of a more of a city feel. Now actually I've been working on a couple different things lately. The one has been more furniture, things of that nature, which I'm not sure how much of the detail you can see here on the brazier here for the actual building. Basically just have a two-sided piece there. You can flip over to use for a statue or something if you like, but you can use that for kind of like a fireplace, like a brazier to put a fire in. And then actually, now obviously that goes along with the fire with the actual pot there, which the pot just has a little bit of, can't really zoom in very good on that particular detail. But that looks like it has some steam or some kind of fluid in it, and then the fire actually will fit on the actual firewood there, so we have like a normal fireplace kind of, or like a fire feel there. And then obviously some of the barrels I've been working on lately. You can see some of the open boxes, and then those are actually open barrels where they're actually hollow on the inside. It's kind of dark on the inside, it's kind of hard to see there. But here just kind of gives you a rough feel, the size of the furniture. Like I said, the tables are actually, you can pick them up and move them around, they're loose. And then I've actually made 5 of the tables so far. This is actually one of my, for my dungeon piece, this room would be a rather large room for the dungeon, but I'm actually making 2 of these pieces for an inn that actually come apart. That way I can put a middle piece in there and actually make a tavern about two times the size of this one for like a really large tavern. And then you can see the ale or the wine barrels there. There's actually a pretty good amount of detail on those, and they've actually, especially that one there, actually has kind of a weathered oak look. And then I tried a couple different patterns for the actual color of the barrels. It's kind of hard to tell on the video there. You can see the actual detail there, and you have the little metal rods there on the outside. Let's see if I put that back without knocking it over. And of course we got the little treasure chest there for the innkeeper to keep all his loot in. And that there just kind of gives you an idea of the scale next to the 28mm miniatures. So it comes up a little bit below waist height, which I measured on myself roughly where a table would normally go to. I'm trying to make some chairs too, but I'm not exactly sure if the chairs really fit in with the whole theme, because most of the time your miniatures don't actually look like they're sitting down. So I'm gonna make some just for kind of the continuity, so it looks like we have the effect of the chairs in the room, but not really that big on actually adding them when we're actually in the role playing. Then we have a woman playing a tambourine, and I've been working on a couple different types of stairs. Let me see if I can. That just gives you kind of an idea of the wooden stairs there, especially if they're up against a wall. And then, now, these stairs here are actually the ones I've been using for my dungeon. Let's see if I can turn those around a little bit. It's real simple, just to kind of show the going up or down a level in the dungeon. Like I said, they're very simple, based on a little piece of styrofoam there. And what I've been doing when I've used these in my home campaign, I actually normally just stick one of the steps there in the corner, and that shows that just going up basically to the second level of the inn. Like I said, I'm actually going to try to make a little bit more of a fancy, kind of a 2-story wooden ladder, or something more along the lines of those wooden steps, but in a little bit more grander staircase, maybe with some arm rails, go up to the second level. At least that's what the plan is. And like I said, that gives you an idea of kind of the barrels there, and the people in the inn there, just kind of hanging around the table. Like I said, the biggest party I've had in here so far, like I said, this shows the 4 figurines there. I've had a party of 6 using this particular setup, and I had about 8 villagers in the inn, the 1 bartender, a couple wenches, which actually I don't have with me at the moment, but it was a little crowded. So right now I'm making a inn that's about twice the size of this one is right now. So hopefully that'll alleviate, especially some of the encounters in a really large inn or like some kind of government building. And then the next project, I'm actually working on wooden floor pieces. So I can make a tavern with like a wooden floor, which that brings us to the next piece, which this is my idea for a wooden bridge. Now, I don't know about all the DMs out there, but every time you run across some type of bridge in an encounter, in an adventure, it's almost always something really horrible and negative is going to happen. So now this is a really simple piece. All of these come apart, obviously. You see the logs for like where you tie it up in the end there on the bank. But all of these come apart, so if for some reason you want a little bit smaller bridge, we would just slide those over there. And then voila, we have a smaller bridge. Like I said, very, very simple. All the wooden pieces there obviously are 1-inch squares. And then just to kind of give you a feel there of what we can do with the floor for like a tavern or some type of building, like I said, we could scoot those together, make kind of a 1-inch square grid. Well, it's kind of hard to do that with one hand there. Let's see here if I can get a couple of those put together nice and even. Like I said, that's the general idea there for the wooden plank flooring. I'm trying a couple different paint jobs. Like I said, I have some of them obviously are darker than others. Let's see if you can see some of the detail there if I bring that out a little bit. You can kind of see the wood grain there. It's kind of hard to bring it out there. And then what I've actually been using for reference is actually a piece of balsa wood. And there's some of the wooden grain on there, which actually, oddly enough, with the lighter color, it actually brings out a little bit of the detail there. I'm throwing around a couple ideas. Obviously, for the next piece, I want to make some kind of a ship, like the top deck of a ship. Possibly using balsa wood for like the actual side rails, and then something perhaps similar to this to show the 1-inch squares on the actual deck of the ship. Especially for the Pathfinder Society, it seems like we have a lot of adventures on the deck of ships and sometimes actually going into the bowels of the ship. So that's the next idea I'm working on. If you guys have any comments or if there's anything specifically you guys want to see, just shoot me an email and let me know. Thanks.